Welcome to Lower the Bar with John and Joe. Remember to breathe. This is your Power Hour. Welcome back. We are so glad you joined us. How you doing, Joe?
I'm very happy today because we're at the beach.
Oh, yes, it does look different, doesn't it?
Yes.
Joe has a picture of the beach looking through a windowsill in the office for those of you who are listening on your platform. So we mixed it up today, and we just thought we'd bring a little light because the eclipse is tomorrow, and I'm leaving for Cali tomorrow. I'm really excited about my trip.
You haven't even packed yet.
Okay. I have not, but
it won't take long.
No, but I'm really excited, and I'm going to be gone for almost 2 weeks, so that should be fun, interesting. Again, I'm really looking forward to working on my father and going out to the desert and connecting with old friends. There's one friend of mine who was kind of like my little sister in school. I kind of took her under my wing, and I literally haven't seen her in almost 40 years.
Oh my goodness, that's
Yes.
going to be fun.
So I'm really excited to see her and hang out and just really recharge the battery. And then looking forward to spring when we come back, because we had a horrible storm and just everything's been just yucky around here. So I'm really looking
just
forward
recently
to a break and then coming back refreshed, like I said, and recharged. So how was your week, my dear?
My week was very busy. I got to go.
How's the gardening?
That's what I was going to say. I got to go into, I love going in. I have a big gardening shed, and my husband put all new windows in it and lights, and it has a sink. And I just go down there and put my music on and separate my seeds. And I'm just making a plan of what kind of garden. I'm going to have a much, much bigger garden this year. Every year I say I'm not going to do that, but I cannot control that in me.
Just a quick question. Our listeners don't know, but you also have a beautiful big greenhouse. What do you do in the summertime with it?
The same thing that I do. I don't usually grow plants in it, although I have a smaller greenhouse that's plastic with lights within the greenhouse.
Oh.
But also the porch upstairs over it, I put things up there. So you're going to see things when you come to my house in all stages of growth.
Oh, good.
But by the end of June, we should be picking all the greens because they go on pots all along my porch.
I remember.
So the rabbits and the squirrels can't, well, the squirrels don't like them, but the rabbits can't get up there. So
I enjoyed your lettuces last year.
Yeah, and my tomatoes.
Yes.
So,
my God, people. She had thousands of tomatoes. It was insane.
And I did find those little pear tomatoes in seed. So
good.
It's too bad you don't have a garden where you are this year, because I'll have lots of those to give away. But I have lots of people to give them to. You can't possibly do more than 4 of them. And I probably will have 30.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's on the docket for today, Joe?
Well, if you remember that last week we talked about inadequacy.
Yes.
And how everyone has inadequacy in some area, that they feel it, whether it's real or not. They feel it. They may not.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I meant to tell you, I had a couple of clients call me about that topic, that issue, and they were very grateful and thankful that we talked about it, because a lot of people suffer.
Oh, definitely. Every client that I have in the office, I start with getting them to know their little one. And we do a self-esteem builder and a confidence builder, which is all related to feelings of inadequacy. And they love it. And then I use that little one throughout all my sessions that feel so good about him or herself in the rest of my sessions for them to keep relating to it. And when I teach them self-hypnosis, they are doing it, sitting in their heart next to that little one. And that really helps, because I do have some people that come in with depression, and that's what we're talking about today, is depression. That feeling where you just say, I'm not even going to try anymore. I've tried so hard. Nothing seems to be working, and I'm just kind of numb. It's beyond frustration.
Yeah.
No matter what feeling you're feeling, the secondary is frustration. Oh my God, how many times do I have to keep changing my response to get what I need? And finally you go, forget it. And that's depression. Now, it's very important for me so that we avoid any misunderstanding that when we're discussing depression, that we emphasize, if you feel that somebody you know is at a dangerous level where they might harm themselves or somebody else, and you can tell, you need to report it. That's your responsibility, to report it so they can get help. They may be upset with you, but you need to report it to save a life. I almost never, but not never, have anyone in my office that is that depressed. It's usually because they're just not resolving an issue in a way that can lift their depression. So once they go inward and start focusing on themselves, they learn what's causing the depression, and they learn the 3 steps into looking at it, identifying it, identifying what's causing it. How do you do that? You gotta go backwards. I was frustrated for a long time, and now I'm depressed about this. Okay, from the tertiary, before that was secondary frustration. What's the feeling there? What was the cause of it? That's very, very important. Sometimes it'll be so general, it's that person that I'm married to, or it's my job. I hate it, but I can't quit it because I have to support my family. You have to figure out what's best healthy for you, and either change your attitude if you've got to stay at that job, or find another job. I mean, there's so many different things, but just make sure that that person who's feeling depressed is not at a point where they might harm themselves or somebody else, because I know I'm not qualified to deal with that, and most people aren't. Have you ever had any experience with depression? Even with clients?
Oh, clients, most definitely. I have to say, I never really suffered from depression personally. I've had other issues impact, I would say, more cell memory from my experiences, the traumas that I experienced. I think that was always more impactful for me. I think I've always been kind of an up person, just personality-wise. I don't think I ever got into a place where I just, the clinical kind of definition of what depression was. I don't think I ever suffered from that. I suffered from other issues, but I never suffered from depression. My aunt did. My aunt suffered incredibly, but she had been through so much in her life. And she used to do light therapy back in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, wow.
Way before anybody, all of that kind of awareness was really known. It was very experimental back then, but oh my gosh, the impact it had on her.
On her brain, yeah.
Was incredible.
And we know, because my husband and I are both light therapists,
Yes.
and we use light therapy to help clients in many ways.
Yes.
All healing ways.
Well, that's really the
what
energy of it. Whether it's from the sun, vitamin D, other deficiencies.
And that's very important, the vitamin D. I want to say that. I'm not a doctor. I can't prescribe. But the first thing I tell my clients who are feeling depressed is, please get your vitamin D level measured.
Yes.
And do some reading on it from doctors or clinics that you respect. Because right now, FDA says if it's above 40, you're good. But I can tell you that most doctors
Those are generalizations,
say,
Joe.
yes, that needs to be higher than that for some people. I keep mine at about 63. But in order to do that, I have a light that I don't use as often as I should, a white light. But I also take 5,000 units daily of vitamin D.
Good.
To maintain it.
You also should take it with K2 because
I do with K. You're right.
Tell our audience.
Because it's a catalyst.
Yes.
When you take it with K2, it helps your body absorb it and utilize it.
Yes. If you don't
much
take
better.
it with K2, you actually can do damage. It's not good for you. The body doesn't absorb it at all. So just be aware of that. People need to know that. So.
Yeah. The cycle of feeling depressed goes on and on. And if you're going to constantly allow yourself to feel depressed, you're never going to move forward. So it's very, very important to identify why you feel
Right, but
depressed.
I think, isn't it, if you're in that place, isn't it hard to identify it?
Yes, yes.
Again, I can't talk from experience because I never don't get me wrong, I've been depressed, but I didn't suffer from depression. It was a momentary
Situational,
moment.
they call
Yes,
that. Situational.
Exactly. It was situational completely.
I'm really depressed about a certain situation.
Yeah, I was bummed,
yeah.
Feeling sad, down about it, but that was it, and then I moved through it. But depression is something different.
Yes.
Because again,
when you're depressed, you wake up in the morning and you don't feel rested. You don't feel nurtured or nourished. You don't feel energy like you should have. And that's truly depression, that you just feel tired. Not good.
Well, there's the thing. That's one of the emotions that we feel that really impact us physically and damage the body.
And mentally, emotionally,
yes,
definitely.
but also physically. Of course, obviously, mentally. But physically, like you just were describing, there are a lot of triggers that erupt from that narrative.
And unfortunately, a lot of people think that depression is the problem. But depression is the symptom of the problem. It's not the problem.
Really good point, Joe.
Yeah, that's
really
so important.
Good point.
That's why you need to go backwards and see what's causing it. And some people can go backwards and say, it's my whole damn life. It's my parents. It's my relationships. Okay, you can't eat all that in one sitting. Choose what will have the most effect on you right now and deal with it. Find a better way to respond to it. If you need to change your personal relationship, figure out how. That may mean that you're going to have to change your job to support yourself, one bite at a time. But once you do that, you will feel so much better when you wake up in the morning. So many people who are depressed have a feeling that, I don't even like to say this word, you don't either, hopeless.
Oh, right.
Because hopeless to John and I means putting it outside the circle on somebody else, on their responsibility, not taking the responsibility. Now, a lot of people don't feel that way, but we do, because we like to say, manifest something coming to you. If you feel hopeless, that means you can't do anything. You're just going to wait for somebody to come and save you. Well, guess what?
That's not happening.
Not happening.
Yeah.
You have to look inward and say, I got to take care of this. I got to figure out what I've got to. I don't care if you're 80 years old and you only have maybe 5 or 6, 10 years left. You've got to figure out how they can be your happiest. What makes you happy? Why should you suffer for 10 more years? So,
gosh, Joe, if you've made it that far
in a bad relationship.
Well, why wouldn't you want that for yourself?
Well, why wouldn't you have wanted it long before that? But I'm just saying that, so many times as people get into retirement, people tell them, well, you know what? Just think about what's going to happen if you divorce. You're going to this and he's going to get that and you're going to be alone. But I'm sorry, it's wrong. If you're going to be happy, you're happier alone if you're not happy with who you're with. And it really is. I mean, because if you're retired, it's even more time to spend doing the things you like. So is one of the things you like being in a house with someone that you really don't want as your partner?
Well, I think at that point, Joe, you need to deal with the issue of codependence and why you feel the need or why those feelings are coming up that you can't be who you are or enjoy or whatever you need for you alone. Like, why do you have to be? You don't have to be with this person.
No.
Certainly if they're not making you happy or giving you what you need.
Especially women will say, oh, financially I can't do it alone.
I understand that. But again, there comes a point where what's more important to you?
Exactly.
You know, when you do that, you give away your power because you're not holding space for yourself. Well, I'm going to struggle or, my life is going to change. And that's all bullshit.
Your life is going
it's
to
a
change for the
construct.
better.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So maybe that, even you doing that to yourself, look at maybe you're self-sabotaging and you don't even realize that you're doing that. And that's how you keep yourself from growing or moving forward.
Yeah, I think I see it more predominantly in the group over 60, but we all know that depression, I mean, look at teenagers that are depressed. And I look at them and I think, not a clinical depression now, this is situational,
right.
but I think of what's going on in the schools. There's some kids that cannot handle all the peer pressure, all the FaceTime, Instagram, they can't handle it. And they're depressed about it. And lots of times they don't tell their parents because then their phone will get taken away from them.
Well, that's the whole thing with the government and TikTok and the influence of the internet and what it does. It feeds all of these insecurities in children.
Absolutely. And children, you're right. 8, 9, and 10 on TikTok, competing with other kids, dressing like they're 14 or 16. It's incredible. And are depressed.
I just saw, I think it was on 60 Minutes, but they did this piece on, they were like 8-year-old influencers.
Yes, I think I saw that as I walked through.
And it was young girls and makeup.
Yep.
And products, face creams, and
getting paid for it.
You're 8 years old.
And you do have parents, right?
Well,
that are allowing this.
That's a whole nother.
Yeah, but they're living vicariously through these kids.
I agree with you, but just look at that narrative alone. It just blows my mind.
It does mine too.
Those are now we're kind of old, but my point is we didn't have those issues when we were kids. Like today, again, obviously the influence of the internet, your phones, instant access, instant gratification, everything is literally at your fingertips. Exposure, you also see a lot more. It's understandable, but still, it's kind of horrifying to think about this. Now, if these children are in this space, think about how other children are impacted by that. In a negative way.
In a negative way, because they think,
am
I supposed to be doing that? I don't look like that. You're right.
Exactly.
My mother wouldn't let me do that.
Exactly. So we don't even
I
realize.
feel inadequate.
There you go. So we keep piling on. Everything is just perpetuated in this giant loop, and we've talked about this before.
Yes.
So we have to learn to cut the loop,
Absolutely.
give ourselves perspective, understand, and bring that kind of clarity, that awareness to our children.
And if more parents would recognize this and put parameters on the use of a lot of these things, on knowing where their kids are, their kids would be so much happier when they're a little bit older.
Yeah, but there's so much influence, Joe.
There is.
The peer pressure today.
But also the parents are both working,
enormous. Trying
to make ends meet, because you got to have 2 incomes in order to pay for housing, etc. Yes. It's a loop. Well, you're right.
There are more 20-somethings living at home now than ever in history.
Okay. Because they can't afford it. But
yes.
That doesn't mean,
no.
Maybe they're depressed because they are living
I'm
at
sure
home.
There are families with issues of codependence and all of that stuff, but I'm saying the narrative is children are like in 28 years old, 32 years old, still living at home. And it's the influence. And if you are 28 years old and you're living at home, it is the perfect opportunity to work through your shit. Because by that time in your life, you're pretty developed, your ego, the id, you have an understanding of where you're going. You're not even right out of school. You're 28 years old. You're a grown man or you're a grown woman. So,
Doesn't mean you're emotionally mature.
No. But again, depression gets in the way of clarity, focus, what we need to do for ourselves.
And I think one of the ways that you can encourage them to leave is, and I think most parents don't do this, is charge them rent.
Yes. I mean, I agree. There are many structures of framing your boundaries with your children.
Yes, yeah.
So Because some child you might need to do that with, and another one isn't capable. So it really, again, it's discretion, discernment.
Oh, yeah, and
and
situational.
yes,
Situational,
yes.
yeah. So, unfortunately, depression is being found now, even in children who are in primary school. And that's very, very sad. But what isn't sad is they're finding it because the kids are saying, I'm sad. I don't know why, but I'm sad. Thank God they're able to
Express
that. So people need to take that seriously and find out, why are they sad? What's making you sad? And sometimes they can't clearly express it. But, you can always say, the next time you really feel sad about something, come and tell me. And let's note it. Let's keep it down so we can find out what's going on here. And just showing that kind of interest, I don't think you always need to quick run to a psychologist. I mean, only parents can decide when that's appropriate. But get some information before you do that. I would. That would be my thoughts on that.
Well, I think that's wise.
Yeah, because it might be something that very often it's, well, you and Dad are divorced. Dad's not here anymore.
You know what? You just made me think of something. That's a great point. Start with just communication.
Absolutely.
It could be something very deep, but it also could be something that's kind of on the surface, just like you said. Not that doesn't hit deep, because but the fact that they can express it,
it's primary,
and actually they can articulate what they're feeling and let you know what it is, as opposed to saying, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. You know what I mean? Like, they're able to go, well, Dad's gone and I'm just sad because I don't see, you know what I'm saying? That expression is what's important and wonderful, that they're able to articulate and say it,
It is. And whoever is hearing that, let's say it's mom, should not be bad-mouthing Dad, no matter how mad she is at him, because kids sometimes are depressed from hearing one parent or the other talk negative about somebody they love. And why would you do that? You do it out of anger, but it's immature. You don't need to do that. Keep that for when they're adults, when they're older. But right now, you want to protect the feeling that your children has about the parents.
That you didn't trigger something in me, but it made me think of something personal, in that, because I never heard I love you from my parents. I never expressed emotion. When you said that, I kind of thought of, I wish they were fight or argue. They never did. I never saw them fight, which doubled the feeling of abandonment or whatever, because
it was nothing.
Right. There was no emotion. Zero.
Wow.
Nothing expressed, nothing shown. So, yeah.
And were they home all the time? I mean, at night?
At nighttime, my dad would get home late from work, go right into his office, and he'd be on a Smith Corona typewriter. All I hear all night is just all night long. And he would be dressed in his suit. He wouldn't even get undressed. He would lie in bed, because in New York they had that famous, it's 10 o'clock, do you know where your children are? And I always remember hearing that from his bedroom, and he'd watch the 10 o'clock news in his suit, lying in bed. He wouldn't have the jacket on, but he'd still be in the tie, the shirt, the pants, in bed. It was very strange. But
that was his life.
Yes, but no expression. Nothing. He said my mother never expressed any kind of emotion. He said the only time they never fought in 35 years of marriage, they divorced after 35 years. And he said the only time he ever saw her get angry or even express emotion, she threw a remote at him. But that was it. It was not even anger words. She just threw it at him and that was it. And he knew that she was upset, but he never saw her cry. I never saw my mother cry ever. Express love, emotion.
They were.
Oh no, I know.
Oh my God, repressed.
Yes.
Repressed.
And suppressed.
Yeah.
And my father didn't express it either, because his father made fun of him, put him down, abandoned him. And, then my father went through World War II, at 4 or 5 years of combat, in the combat zone. It totally screwed him up on many levels.
Well, this is what happens. And then you have children, and some of that is going to get passed off. I mean, you got a lot of it, but some of it would have been passed off. That's just the way it is. You can't unless you're going to wait till you're about 35 to have kids and you've done all your work,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be some fluff
Yes.
passing off to your kids.
Well, this is why we do the show.
Yeah.
So we bring awareness to our listeners on how to deal with this crap.
Yeah. Listen to your kids. Ask them what's making them feel sad. And allow them to tell you, well, Daddy isn't nice to you, or Mommy isn't nice to you, or the teacher isn't nice to me. Allow them. Write it down. I think I would feel I was so important if my mom said, what's making you sad? I want to keep track of that because I want to help your life be happier.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I would just write it down in the date, and I want you to tell me the next time you feel that way. And well, let's talk about how we can change that. Wow, would I have felt important?
Oh my God, you kidding
Yeah.
me? My gosh,
And that's so
if my mother
easy.
said that to me, I would probably crap myself. I'd be so
Mom,
shocked.
what are you smoking?
Exactly. The bitch is on crack. I'm kidding. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, that's an alien concept to
Yeah,
me. I
yeah.
could never imagine my...
No, well, my mom
My
was
family
sweet,
doing that.
and she was a good mom, but she had 13 kids. She was not about to get a paper and pencil. But she did say, is he bothering you, like one of my brothers?
Right.
Yes, go to your room. I mean, that was the
Yeah,
extent of dealing.
right. Well, that's what they did back then. Right?
Yeah, and I can remember feeling kind of depressed. I was more depressed because stop having kids. There's too many kids in this house.
But it was situational.
Oh,
for you.
it was definitely
wasn't
situational.
Like you suffered from
No.
depression.
No, it was definitely situational. Yeah. And there were other things too that I won't talk
Well,
about.
sure.
But just family stuff. Nothing
Right.
I needed to go to shrink for.
No, right.
So, identify the feeling. Go back and find the cause of it and work at it. Because some people tell me, oh, I've been depressed my whole life. And my first thought, but I don't say it out loud, is you sound like you're okay with it. And I don't understand that.
I never looked at it that way.
Yeah, I've been depressed my whole life. Okay, how's that working for you? Well, I'm just used to it.
That's sad, Joe.
That is sad.
That's horrible.
Yeah, I did have one client like that, and I said, do you want to be happy? Oh, I didn't say I wasn't happy. Now, I know.
That's
now
a little
you have,
counterintuitive.
right, yes. Happy, because that just tells me happy in certain areas, but there's some areas, and most of the time is you go back, because they sign up for sessions, go back and we find that area was the programs put in their head when they were little kids. If not by a parent, by a sibling, by a teacher. And once we remove those, they can just focus on what they're happy about now.
Right. Well, most of our impacts in our lives that we carry through our lives are from childhood, not really
Absolutely.
adulthood.
Often before the age of 5.
Not that it can't, but yes, exactly. Most of it is in your infancy, way before adolescence.
I have actually gone back with clients all the way back to the womb. When they were in the womb, because I say, I'm going to count from 3 down to 1. When I get to 1, be it the first time that you felt like you were inadequate, you had no importance in this life, you felt unloved. And one person went back until she was in the womb, and her mom was 4 months pregnant, and she heard her parents, this is what she told me, talking about whether they would abort her. I was shocked. Because doctors don't think that you can process that intellectually. But that's just the first time I heard things that happened while somebody was in the womb. I totally believe that children are very aware of what you're saying when you're pregnant.
Of course they are. Well, the brain is most developed at infancy, so it can handle all the processing and coming into this world. But it's very similar in the sense of what we hear and influence and what happens to us as adults too. When we're, let's say you're in a coma.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And they talk about it, or from an accident, or you're 95 years old and you're on your in your twilight on your deathbed, and you're fading in and out of consciousness, and you're in a coma or whatever, or they have you on life support, and then all of a sudden they'll pop up and say hi, hello, and know what you were talking about 10 minutes ago when they were unconscious. It's science is beginning to really start to understand this.
Finally.
I know.
I had a client come in who was depressed because she did not understand why she was so scared to get a shot. But she had fallen down a set of stairs and was intellectually impaired. So
Did she have a traumatic brain injury?
Yes,
Okay.
and she came in with a social worker. She couldn't.
Oh, okay.
She lives under the guardianship of the
Right.
social worker, and she had to have some procedure. She needed a shot, and she had no idea why. And they asked me, "Do you think you can get into her subconscious mind?" And I
Wait,
said,
she didn't know why she didn't want the shot?
why she was so scared of getting it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, to make a long story short, I said, I'm going to try. And sure enough, we went in, and she went back to being in a coma for 4 months.
Gosh.
And the doctors came in and said, she's in a coma. Just give her the shots. Just give it to her. Come on, we're in a hurry.
Oh my gosh.
And she's screaming in her head, wait, I have questions. But she can't say it.
Right. She's unconscious.
And once we changed her perception of their purpose was not to hurt her. They didn't know she couldn't understand. They thought she couldn't hear them. That changed how she looked at them. And it took 4 sessions of forgiveness and all that other stuff I do. And she went and had the shots. She was amazed.
Well, it's amazing the impact that had. Like, if you really think about it, and that fear.
There was more
from
too
her
that
being
she didn't
unconscious.
understand. That I'll be writing a story about my sessions with her permission, because it just was incredible. Because I wasn't sure what we would be able to get, but we guided her to change her life. It was amazing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
Love it.
Okay, we are finished
Wow.
for today. Yeah.
That went really fast.
Yes. What are we going to do next week? What's our topic for next week?
I don't know. I will not be here.
Oh,
This
that's
coming
that's
week,
right.
but when I
Well,
come
when
back,
you come back, yeah. Okay. Well,
But
I'm thinking that we need to talk about the wisdom of distractors. That's a huge thing. Things that distract us from both doing what we should do and keeping us from doing what we shouldn't do. What do you think of that?
I think that's very good.
Okay.
I like it.
We'll be talking about that. Have a wonderful weekend, John. You have a wonderful trip.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you to all our listeners. We are so blessed and honored that you have chosen to join us, and we are honored for the privilege of your time. And I just want to thank all of you for listening, and we love you, and have a great week.
I can't wait to see your photographs.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.